That is where DARPA's Longshot comes in. DARPA describes the system as a, quote, air-launched unmanned air vehicle with the ability to employ multiple air-to-air weapons. The idea behind the concept, as DARPA explains, is to significantly extend engagement ranges, increase mission effectiveness, and reduce the risk to manned aircraft. In effect, Longshot is an air-launched cruise missile that itself launches its own air-to-air missiles. I'll quote DARPA's Longshot briefing now. Current air superiority concepts rely on advanced manned fighter aircraft to provide a penetrating counter-air capability to effectively deliver weapons. It is envisioned that Longshot will increase the survivability of manned platforms by allowing them to be at standoff ranges far away from enemy threats, while an air-launched Longshot UAV efficiently closes the gap to take more effective missile shots. In 2020, DARPA kicked off Phase 1 of Longshot by soliciting design concepts from General Atomics, Northrop Grumman, and Lockheed Martin. General Atomics was the only firm selected to move forward into Phase 2 in 2021, with ongoing design maturation continuing until June of 2023, when they were awarded a Phase 3 contract to move toward flight testing of their system, which reportedly started in December of that same year. Now, this drone is too large to be carried internally by fifth-generation fighters like the F-35 or F-22, as it's intended to carry a pair of large air-to-air missiles like the AIM-120 AMRAAM or Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missiles. Instead, it would be carried under wing by fourth-generation fighters like the F-15EX or deployed from inside the weapon bays of bombers like the B-52 or B-21. While it's also possible that Longshot could be deployed from the F-35's external weapon stations, doing so would require the aircraft to carry a pylon even after launch, compromising some degree of its stealth. Specifics about the General Atomics Longshot platform are pretty sparse in the public domain, including its overall dimensions and means of propulsion. But based on the program guidelines and its intended use, it's all but certain that it would be powered by an air-breathing jet engine like most cruise missiles, either a turbojet or a more advanced turbofan. In October of 2023, Aviation Week defense editor Steve Trimble reported that the system will be powered by an engine that produces at least 3,000 pounds of thrust, roughly comparable to the General Electric J-85 turbojet found in small tactical aircraft like Northrop's F-5 and the T-38 trainer. Now, depending on the amount of fuel carried on board and the platform's overall size, that could allow Longshot to be launched from under the wing of, say, an F-15EX and cover potentially hundreds of miles before launching its intended payload of AMRAAMs. Now, this could allow these air-to-air drones to fly out ahead of aircraft as they enter into enemy airspace and engage enemy fighters as they present themselves. Conversely, they could also patrol a set area for an extended period of time, providing additional firepower for a combat air patrol. Once it's expended its munitions or run out of fuel, Longshot would simply crash like other cruise missile-based systems like the ADM-160 MALD, or Miniature Air-Launched Decoy. As such, the platform is meant to be significantly cheaper than reusable drones, but this also tells us some things about the systems that are likely to be carried on board. Aside from the requisite guidance and propulsion systems, other potential inclusions might be missile countermeasures, like a pylon-integrated dispensing system that could deploy flares and chaff, an electronic warfare suite, and potentially even its own targeting systems like onboard radar. But truthfully, these are all pretty unlikely. Any advanced hardware stuffed into Longshot's airframe would dramatically increase its cost, and as a disposable system, increasing cost is something to be avoided. Instead, Longshot will likely be equipped with a data link that allows it to receive live target data from other nearby assets, including the launching aircraft, other fighters and drones, surface-based radars, and more. And this assertion was substantiated, at least to some extent, in DoD budgeting documents discussing the importance of maturing the platform's mission system architecture. I'll quote them now. With the mission system architecture, Longshot will be able to communicate with line-of-sight systems that can detect threats, such as multi-role fighters and intelligent surveillance and reconnaissance platforms, as well as beyond line-of-sight systems that provide targeting information to engage enemy air assets. As a result, the existing inventory of AIM-120s from 4th-generation platforms will be effective at longer ranges. A mission system architecture is critical to close the kill chain for Longshot AIM-120 engagements. If launched with a set target in mind, Longshot could separate from that launching aircraft and fly out to approach the same target from a different vector, forcing the adversary pilot to focus on 2 or more threats coming from 2 or more different angles. With multiple Longshots in the air coordinating with one another and nearby aircraft, an enemy fighter would then face threats approaching from multiple vectors simultaneously, a set of circumstances no pilot wants to face. And in a large-scale fight, Longshots deployed by 4th-generation fighters could dramatically extend the range of already long-legged weapons, like the latest iterations of the AIM-120 AMRAAM, which Raytheon claims are now approaching the range threshold of America's most advanced air-to-air missile making its way toward service, the AIM-260 Joint Advanced Tactical Missile. In fact, because the AIM-260 is designed to fit the same basic form factor as the AMRAAM, it even stands to reason that Longshot could carry them as well. Now, this would make it possible for non-stealth fighters to provide direct support to forward-advancing stealth aircraft at longer ranges than ever before, allowing those stealth fighters to preserve their few onboard weapons for more pressing targets. And because Longshot, like most new weapons and platforms coming online in recent years, will all but certainly rely on newly emerging kill webs for its target data, it wouldn't matter if the aircraft that launched it or any other aircraft in the area was shot down. As long as there are still sensors collecting target data within that broader kill web, Longshot has a chance at finding its targets. When launched from bombers, Longshot could not only support fighter operations in the area, but with a sufficiently networked kill web, could serve as disposable bomber escorts, scrambling out toward incoming threats and engaging them with air-to-air missiles before they can reach the launching bomber. And in perhaps the most wild potential use case, a palletized launch system for Longshot, like Lockheed Martin's Rapid Dragon, could allow a small number of cargo aircraft to deploy dozens of long-range air-to-air missile packing Longshot drones at once, flooding enemy airspace with air-to-air threats too potent to be ignored, forcing fighter and air defense systems to engage them, depleting interceptors, munitions, resources, and manpower even before a single Longshot ever scores a kill. And while Longshot has the potential to do much more than just extend the range of air-to-air missiles, the value it can offer in that regard really shouldn't be ignored. Weapons like the AMRAAM are at their most dangerous when flying under power, and Longshot will make that easier to manage than ever before. But it could also extend the ranges to engage sluggish targets like bombers, tankers, and AWACS to downright silly-seeming extremes, potentially allowing for engagements at upwards of 300 miles with weapons designed to travel just 100 or so. And of course, it's worth noting that several defense contractors have also developed much smaller radar-guided weapons for beyond visual range air-to-air duties. Weapons like Lockheed Martin's CUDA and Raytheon's Peregrine, which claim to offer similar or even greater range than the AMRAAM at roughly half the size. Not only would these weapons allow Longshot to carry even more munitions, but smaller payloads could also increase the range or endurance of the drone itself. Now, it's important to understand that Longshot is not envisioned as a general all-purpose missile range extender, but rather as yet another specialized tool in Uncle Sam's toolbox to maximize the options available to military planners and commanders in theater. Like any weapon system, Longshot's value can't be found in an analytical vacuum, and instead must be considered as one piece of a much bigger puzzle. Longshot could serve as an invaluable addition to America's air-to-air arsenal, maximizing the amount of firepower brought to bear and dramatically increasing the number of targets enemy fighters and air defenses would have to account for. And while stealth fighters and CCA drones would represent a serious loss each time they're brought down, Longshot was gonna crash when it was through anyway. That is, if Longshot finds its way into service anyway. In early 2024, the Pentagon's Research and Engineering Office included a request for $10 million in additional funding for Longshot to integrate the AIM-120 AMRAAM into the platform and continue development of onboard systems in the DoD's unfunded priorities list. Whether or not that funding is allocated for next year remains to be seen, but between us, I don't think it's that much of a long shot. And with that pun ends yet another